There's a hidden force that we've been able to contact for thousands of years, used by monks, secret societies, to tap into a type of intelligence that's much greater than we are. But there's something that stops us in this day and age that I've been recently experiencing and have been noticing that many people find themselves stuck in. And this is the ability to tap into silence. The ability to actually have no thoughts at all. I can't remember who it was exactly. I don't know what philosopher it was. One of the Greek philosophers said all of man's troubles come from the inability to sit still in a room quietly. And even though this practice of silence is something I've been trying to get myself into or practicing for a long time, recently I found myself drifting away and identifying myself with thoughts and feelings that aren't even really mine. And you may be experiencing this yourself today with all of the stimulation we normally feel. The amount of stimulation we get from our phones and computers and all these devices is not normal for a human being, and it never has been. We've always been able to access silence fairly frequently and easily. But why is it that every time we try to silence our mind, every time we try to suppress our thoughts and have no thoughts, we only think more thoughts? More of these invasive, intrusive things come into our mind. Part of this is there's a degree of polarity where if we don't really want something to happen, the very thing that we don't want to have happen is going to happen, right? So when I'm on my walk and I'm like, I don't want to think any more thoughts, I just want to be quiet, I just want to have peace, it seems to be that the mental chatter only gets worse, you know, things even get louder. But there's a phrase here that recently Eckhart Tolle has shared with me when I was reading one of his books, The Power of Now. And this phrase has been the key to allow me to drop into this state of silence. And something magical happens when you do drop into a state of silence. And I say it's magical because it's probably something we don't feel anymore all the time, but it's something we used to feel all the time. It's a type of energetic force that we were in contact with consistently. And I teach an exercise on this channel that you can also do. There's a free starter guide down below that'll help you tap into this universal life force, this energizing, creative, constructive force that will begin to create a sense of inner harmony within you. But going back to the silence, this is you, right? I don't know if you can see that. At the center, that's you. Like, that's who you are. At a core level, who you are being, at a soul level, is perfection. The very meaning of intuition. Think about the word intuition, inner knowledge. Inside tuition, tuition from the inside, inner knowledge. And so you could say all the answers that you need for your life, everything you need to know for the path that you want to go on, maybe an entrepreneurial journey, or finding a different job, or whatever change you've been wanting to desire in your life, not knowing where the answers are, they're right here. But how do we get to that? How do we access that? It's moving through all of this. All of this. This is your thoughts, or not even your thoughts necessarily, but the thoughts that are attracted to you. Maybe your old frequency, so your old way of thinking and feeling. The intrusive thoughts that come into your mind when you're on your way to work or someone cuts you off. The emotional triggers from your past. Things that maybe are even held on to by this inner part of yourself, this inner child. These things make it hard to see the clarity of the reality around us. And I've been there. I'm still there now. This is something we're navigating on this journey of life together. But in order to see clearly, we need to be able to let go of all of this without having to fight it. Because I find every time I try to silence my mind, the chatter only gets louder, and you may have felt this. So the one phrase that I'll tell you that Eckhart Tolle said was, "What's my next thought going to be?" And when you tell yourself this magical phrase, "What's my next thought going to be?" what happens is there's no thought. There's nothing. And that is because you've now moved into a higher level of awareness. He says, when you take the place of an observer of your mind, not your mind, not identifying exactly with the thoughts and emotions of your mind, but identifying as an observer of it, now you can see from top down. Now it's almost like, instead of being like a salmon in a river swimming alongside all these other salmon in the streams of thought that you have, now you're like the guy sitting on the side of the river looking at all the salmon just swimming by, knowing that you're not the salmon. You're not. You're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, you're none of that. At the center of your being, you are just pure matter and you're pure energy at the center of your being. And you're all the knowledge that you need to know to get to where you need to be in your life. And in uttering this one phrase, you can begin to drop into states of silence. I remember when I was a paramedic, there would be 2 moments in my whole career where I truly felt silence. One was in the midst of like a life or death situation, either with myself or another patient, and really putting all my focus and attention on them and helping them. That was the first time I felt silence because my training was autonomic. It just came naturally over time, repeating it over and over. The second time was in between the calls when we're going through the exercise of cleaning out our equipment, cleaning out the ambulance. I'd be wiping the stretcher and it'd be like wax on, wax off, like Mr. Miyagi, And in doing this exercise of wiping down the stretcher, it was almost like a zen, peaceful state. There was an order of operations in how you make the blanket and how you fold everything together. And you may have felt this at some point in your job, like moments in your career or whatever you do, where you're just like in this zen state where you're just focusing on the motions and nothing else. There's no thoughts happening. It's just doing and being. And so I guess my point here is we all have minds that crave silence. And if you need help getting on this path, you need help sort of finding the clarity in your life, I do work with people one-on-one. You can look down below. There's a link for that. There's also my Universal Life Force Starter Guide that you can get. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And until next time, peace.